morning, good evening, and good afternoon. I hope you guys have been having a wonderful week. I know I am. And my God, has it been an interesting week. I swear, I keep leaving my school at 8 p.m., not knowing why, knowing why, but still praying and praying that I see the sun. Trust me when I say law school is hard. Harder than anything I've had to do. Alright, now I'm so confused I'm messing up my grammar. But anyway, I'm having fun studying, going out sometimes if I have plans. Yeah, you can tell I'm having fun. Anyway, this week I actually wanted to talk about live action anime adaptations in light of the live action One Piece show, which is actually doing pretty well on Netflix. Sure, I've seen a lot of people say that it's not the same as the anime, but honestly, with the original creator behind the anime and the manga being behind the Netflix series, I think that's a good thing. Because it shows that there can be really good live action anime adaptations if you do it right. Because let me tell you, a live action anime adaptation getting really good reviews from both critics and the fans, that is rare. Because a lot of times it's been met with horror and disgust from both fans and the critics. For a very, very good reason. Now, before we get into that, I have to explain what anime is. And yeah, I get it. Who doesn't know about anime? Who hasn't heard about anime? Have they been living under a rock? But you guys gotta remember, not everybody knows about anime. There are some people who haven't experienced it or just think that they're just silly cartoons. So, to basically digress and to dissuade you from thinking that, anime is a style of Japanese film and television animation typically aimed at adults as well as children. Now, most of the time the animation is hand-drawn, or lately we've been seeing a lot of computer-generated animation. One thing I love about anime, especially old school and some of the anime now, is just how fluid that animation is. Especially the hand-drawn ones, oh my God. I really wish that they continue to do a lot of hand-drawn animation in the States, because let me tell you, the extra layer of emotion that hand-drawn animation just tells is amazing, and the art is just beautiful. Something you just don't get from computer-generated animation or anime or cartoons or whatever. Like I said, I really wish that a lot of cartoons go back to when they used to do hand-drawn, because look at Tom and Jerry. The old Tom and Jerry cartoons, the old Bugs Bunny cartoons, they're just amazing. And now, with them going to more computer generated, it's just not the same. It's not animated the same, but I digress. Let's go back to anime. But one thing about anime that you, as an adult who's never heard of it, may not know is that it's extremely popular in Japan. And a lot of that popularity leaked into the States and across the world. And here's another thing. Adults in Japan also watch anime. They have a lot of films aimed for adults as well as TV series. And let me tell you, watching an adult animated anime is just really great. Especially the action base, just seeing all that blood and gore. Heck, Samuel L. Jackson loves anime and actually dubbed one, and it was really good. Black Samurai. If you're a fan of the Boondocks, you're gonna love this one. But anyway, it's just something that a lot of people in Japan look forward to. Young, old, it doesn't matter. You cannot escape anime. Now, you may be wondering, how do the studios know what to adapt, or how do they come up with all these stories where if you look up anime, they're gonna give you thousands upon thousands of options? And that's because a lot of the anime is often adapted from manga. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's a style of Japanese comic books or graphic novels. Again, typically aimed at adults as well as children. Now, that's not to say that all anime is adapted from manga. A lot of times they do have original ideas that they decide to put into anime. But those adaptations usually only last a season or two because, one, it's an original idea, so they have to plan out this entire thing where it could last multiple seasons. The anime you see that has been going on or advertised for years, so like Dragon Ball, One Piece, Naruto, and many more have been around for years because they've been adapted from mangas that have just kept on going and going. Trust me, One Piece has been going on for over 30 years, and that's the manga. There are other mangas that have been going on for much longer. So yeah, people still buy this stuff and people will watch it on the big screen. Heck, sometimes adaptations will go and be in other movie theaters that's not just Japan. Dragon Ball Super is a great example of this because in 2018 they released Dragon Ball Super Broly, which made $116.5 million. And here's the thing, that was with a worldwide release and they didn't market a lot outside of Japan. Maybe a commercial here and there, maybe a trailer, but it still made a lot of money with only an $8.5 million budget, which shows that there is a huge market out there for people who want to see anime. And heck, like I said, this movie wasn't really advertised that much in the States and still brought in $30 million in the United States, which attributed to, of course, their worldwide gross net income. Now, a lot of movie studios see how popular these animes are and want to cash in. Now, before, back in like the 80s and 90s, they would just dub and release anime movies through their own distribution networks. Like Disney. If you didn't know, Disney did a lot of dubbing for the Studio Ghibli movies. Now, if you don't know what that is, I'm not going to explain. Please look it up. These Studio Ghibli movies are amazing. I would start with Kiki's Delivery Service, my personal favorite. But anyway, going back to what I was talking about before, some studios actually decided to go a different route. And that's exactly what we want to talk about today. These live action adaptations of anime. Now, live action adaptations is basically what it sounds like. Movie studios buying the movie rights to these anime and trying to make them come to the big screen in a real life setting. Whenever anime fans hear that a live action adaptation is coming, it's usually met with cringe and horror because the studio will rework the story to fit their country's audience and butcher the story, or they don't have the budget to handle the craziness that happens in these animes, try to skip around those parts, or try to use CGI, which makes everything look like nightmare fuel. Now, of course, Japan loves to use terrible CGIs for their live action adaptations, so the US isn't all to blame here. Now, of course, like I said before, in the US, they try to rework the story, and it's just bad. A perfect example of this would be Dragon Ball Evolution, the most hated piece of cinema to anime lovers. And Fox butchered the story because in the original anime, Goku, he basically is living by himself on a mountaintop, and he's a kid where he gets hit by Bulma. I think she was driving like a car or something, and she's looking for a mysterious item called a Dragon Ball to ask for a wish. Very simple. Gets everything going, and here comes the movie studio wanting to rework that for America. You know what happens? Goku actually changes from being a kid to a teenager trying to become popular at his local high school, while also trying to win over his love interest, where he beats up the bullies and a bunch of other stuff. Now, does that sound like the same thing that I just told you 5 seconds ago? No. And you know what? The US of A is not known for their great anime adaptations of Japanese works. Heck, they are not known for adapting cartoons to movies either, because if you guys remember Avatar: The Last Airbender and how they butchered that, good God, I'm surprised people gave us their rights no matter how much money we gave them. But of course, going back to anime, there's never really been a good adaptation that has been really great and stuck to the source material. Again, besides of course One Piece, which everyone is loving so far. And if it did happen, it was rare. Besides Dragon Ball Evolution, there was Speed Racer, Ghost in a Shell, Alita Battle Angel, Cowboy Bebop, and let's not forget Death Note. And that was just in America. Japan doesn't have any luck in this either, because of course they've done Full Metal Alchemist, Devilman, Gats, Attack on Titan, Black Butler, Parasite, and many, many more. And by God, are they bad. And again, there are a lot of reasons why these movies are bad. For one, they usually can't condense the story into a movie because the story is too big. Or another reason is because they don't have a budget, Or again, they change location to fit the audience, which is mostly a US problem. Or the action sequences or anime just doesn't translate well to live action, and sometimes that just happens. Characters that had charm or sequences that looked great in anime, they just don't translate that well into live action. Even One Piece kind of suffered through this with a bit of their action sequences and the CGI. Again, it looks cool in animation form, but most times it just looks terrible in live action because they can't just express the same expression or do the same sequences. When Luffy was using his stretches and stuff like that to attack, it kind of looked corny. And like I said, sometimes nothing always translates well. Now, one thing that we can do, or these studios can do to fix the problems that they've had from these adaptations, would be first to make sure that the anime you're taking on to adapt isn't too much of a strain on your budget. Second, would make sure not to change the location of where the anime takes place, because a lot of times, especially when it came to Death Note, him being Japanese was a big part of the story because one, Light was trying to basically be the best, be the first person in school. And that was what made him popular in Japan, because in Japan, everyone who's popular or everyone who's successful has the best grades, has this and that. It is a completely different culture than it is in the US. And just changing locations was just terrible. And I'm just saying, I think in 2023, we can handle having characters being played by actors who are the same race as their animated characters. And third, we need to include fans or maybe the author into the decision making when it comes to making changes to the story. We understand the core elements of the story and will tell you what will not fit into a 2-hour movie. Let us help you. Help you to help me. Help you to help me. It's so simple. Now, another thing that also will hinder is, again, stuff not translating well. Because a lot of times these anime look so great. They look so grand. And if you try to put that in a real life setting, it's going to look terrible. It's kind of like looking at food through anime or cartoons. They look fantastic, but if you see that in real life, it's not going to look as good. Trust me, cartoons and animation, they make things look so much better than they do in real life. But like I was saying before, there is a way to make really good adaptations like One Piece did. But certain steps need to be taken. You also, and I forgot to mention this, you also need to make sure that the anime that's being adapted would be good in a movie format. Because most of the time, the story is way too much, way too huge for it to be condensed into a movie. That would be actually satisfying. Animes that are 70 episodes or less are ideal because the story is short enough to be condensed into a few movies that tell the story. But anything longer than that, and my God, are you really in for a terrible, terrible surprise. So animes like Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece, you're just asking for trouble because they have hundreds upon hundreds of episodes. And with a TV format, you'd be able to cover the bases of the story where you can have the actors come back, do multiple seasons, and if you want to make up your own ending or get to the end and take a few shortcuts, you can do that while still taking the core essence of the story and showing it to the audience. Now, I really think that One Piece will start to begin a trend, just like The Last of Us did, to video game adaptations, because that's another genre that just kept getting butchered. And One Piece will basically show that if you take these steps, if you begin to treat anime with the love and the respect that people have poured into this and the fans want, you will get a great fan base to support you and basically follow you for multiple seasons or multiple movies. Like I said, people want to watch these things. People want to spend money. You know how much money you would make from toys from adapting anime to either a live action movie or a live action TV show? Like I said, you just have to be smart. Just be smart like The Last of Us did to video game adaptations. Because like I said before, that was another genre that kept getting butchered, and I could really go into how many video game adaptations that did terrible, but that would be just, you know what, I'll save that for a video for another day. But anyway, like I said, if they just stick to the suggestions that I put out here, or they just let the author help out, they will do just fine, just like One Piece is doing. But anyway, that's it for this week's episode. I know this was a short one, but again, I thought it'd be cool to talk about bad anime adaptations and kind of go into that because, yeah, it's not just an American problem, it's a Japan problem as well. And if you ever want to see bad CGI, well, them apparently thinking it was a good idea, just watch the Japanese live action movies for anime. You will be entertained for days upon days because apparently no one gives them a budget and they just do whatever they want. Ooh, what's a good recommendation for me to do that? Probably Black Butler, Parasite, or Fullmetal Alchemist. If you guys, I think they're all on Netflix. So if you guys just want to watch on Netflix and be like, let me watch something that's so bad it's funny, or just be like, I'm just wanting to watch a really bad movie so I can make fun of it, those are the ones you want to do. Like I said, Netflix for some reason has almost all of them. I don't know if it's because it's a Netflix thing or they're like, you know what, let's just do this. You know what, it could just be a Netflix thing. I mean, they gave us Death Note and I thought that was a good idea. But anyway, that's it for this week's episode. I hope to see you guys next week. You guys have a blessed one. Sayonara. Tell your friends to like and subscribe and listen to my podcast. But again, talk to you guys later. Have a blessed one. Goodbye.